Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer with you guys. And there's Coco in the background. Okay, so what I would like to do is just demonstrate very, very quickly a very powerful, um, a powerful example of a very fated, destined event that occurred in this person's life, which basically changed her life. The first thing that I want to say is this, that this presentation is to show you guys that, let me just edit that because I need to have it on the Kosh house system. Okay. So people frequently ask me, what house system do I use? Now, I use several, for the purposes of rectification, however, with the Nadi system, the Nadi process, which is rectification, I use the Kosh house system. You can see on the left-hand side of the chart the person's birth data, and you can see it says geocentric tropical Kosh true node. So Kosh refers to the house system, okay? There are various house systems, and various house systems are used for different reasons. So I'm not here to say that one is wrong, one is right, or one is better than the other, okay? I use several myself. Like, for example, I use the Kosh when I'm rectifying. I also pay attention to whole sign houses. I also look at the Porifori house system, which is what Jeffrey Wolf Green uses. But in my experience thus far, what seems to show very powerful results through rectification is the Kosh house system. And this is just a very powerful illustration, which is why I've decided to share it with you guys. This was actually my mentor's client, and it was a rectification he did quite some time ago. We spoke about it the other day, and we just thought it might be a good idea to use it as an example to demonstrate the power of, first of all, having your birth time rectified, and just the Nadi program itself. So with this birth time that you see on the screen there, 6:04 a.m., that was not the original time given for this particular person. The time given was, I can't remember exactly, it might have been 15 or 20 minutes out, for instance. It certainly wasn't 6:04 a.m. 6:04 a.m. is the rectified Nadi time, which correlates to the exact timing of the event that took place for this particular individual. Now, very quickly, what happened was this. First of all, just look at the fifth house in this birth chart and look at the 19 degrees of Sagittarius, 19 minutes on the fifth house cusp, okay? And Pluto over here in the second house, which is at 27 degrees, Virgo, 44 minutes, okay? Now, when you are, first of all, when you're working with different house systems, which is a good thing to do, just to check out which house system suits your chart more. If you're not going to have a professional rectify your chart, you can play around with different house systems and see what seems to correlate to your life journey and reflect your life journey more accurately. It could be the Kosh, it could be the Porifori, it could be the Placidus. You know, you just have to explore unless you get somebody to professionally do it for you. What you will notice is that the angles, okay, of the birth chart, meaning the ascendant, IC, descendant, and MC, these angles do not change. The degrees that you see on these angles doesn't change despite which house system you use. What changes is the intermediate house cusps, okay, which is house 2, house 3, house 5, house 6, 8, 9, 11, and 12. Okay, so they are the intermediate house cusps, the houses that sit in between the four angles of the birth chart. These are what's going to change degree and sometimes sign, right, based on which house system you use. That's first thing you need to know. With regards to this particular chart, when we remember, as I said, this is a rectified Nadi time, which gives this person 19 degrees of Sag on the fifth house cusp. Now, this person had an accident at the age of 12 years old. And the accident was she was riding a horse. She loved horses. Um, when it comes to symbolism, here it is. The fifth house correlates to our recreational activities, things we do for pleasure and fun, which includes horse riding. And we have Sagittarius, which correlates to horses as well, on the fifth house cusp. So when she was 12 years of age, she's riding a horse. She tragically had a severe accident which left her brain damaged. She's still alive today, but naturally, this particular fated event changed the course of her entire life. Now, what's involved in this, what correlates to this accident, is something that we work with in astrology called primary directions. I'm not going to explain the method of primary directions because that would be teaching an entire class on that. It's very advanced astrology and you don't really need to concern yourself with it. But what you perhaps do need to know about it is, for example, if you know anything of secondary progressions or you may have heard of them, that's again another method and principle that we use in astrology in order to direct the chart forward or project the chart forward over a period of time, which reflects, secondary progressions essentially reflect very long developmental processes that unfold over the course of our life. But with secondary progressions, what we're doing is we turn the chart around one day. So we animate the chart, we flip it around 24 hours, for example, and that one day equates to 1 year of life. That's secondary progressions, just to put it very, very simply. In primary directions, it's a similar process, but it has a different correlation and reflection to the concept of time, linear time that we work with here on this 3D dimension. So primary directions, when we move the chart around by 4 minutes, just 4 minutes after birth, that equates to 1 year of life. 1 year of life, 4 minutes. So in essence, what we understand about primary directions is that you would advance the chart forward X amount of minutes, say about 120 minutes or thereabouts, can virtually reflect the entire life of the individual. 120 minutes after birth encapsulates the entire journey of the person's life. It's really hard for our left brain to understand this, but this is how this method works, and this is what it actually reflects. So in the example of this particular girl, what we have is when she was 12 years of age, which means that we would progress that time forward by 48 minutes. 48 minutes equals 12 years regarding time, Earth time, okay? So at 12 years of age, when we've progressed the chart forward 48 minutes, I'll show you what happens. Now remember, 19 degrees of Sag is at the fifth house cusp. Sorry about the noise. There's a lot of traffic this evening. 19 degrees of Sag on the fifth house cusp. Pluto at 27 degrees of Virgo. Okay, now I'll show you the primary directed chart. Here it is here. You can see immediately that the fifth house cusp, this is only 48 minutes after her birth. 48 minutes, which equates to 12 years. 48 minutes, we get 19 degrees of Sag becomes 27 degrees of Sag. What does 27 degrees of Sag do to Pluto? It forms an exact square. 27 degrees of Virgo is square 27 degrees of Sagittarius. The fifth house correlates to, as I said, recreational activity, pleasures, things we do. In this case, horse riding. Sagittarius is the archetype that correlates to horse riding, and Pluto is the planetary force that describes destiny, fate, what we're going to encounter. Now, I'm not going to debate or discuss the the concept of fate and destiny. Everyone has a different perspective on that. That's fine, each to their own. But in my understanding, through my experience thus far in life and through the teachings of astrology, Pluto, without any doubt whatsoever, quite apart from it describing and reflecting the soul and the soul's evolutionary journey, Pluto is the one symbol that correlates to fate and destiny and what we will encounter beyond our will, beyond our control. So here we have Pluto forming a square to the fifth house cusp, and this girl has a severe accident which leaves her brain damaged and subsequently unable to move her body, permanently bedridden, etc., for the rest of her life. She's still alive today. She was born in 71, which makes her around about 48 years old, something like that. Now, this is an outstanding illustration, by the way, because you can't get more literal and specific than this. All the symbolism is there, staring at you right in the face. You can't deny it. The other thing that I want to share as well is that also there's a little book called Degrees of the Zodiac by Donna Walter Hanson, if anybody's interested in purchasing it. It's cheap, it's worth getting. If you're really into astrology, it's worth having. Basically, this woman goes through every single degrees of the zodiac, and she'll give a very specific description to every single degrees of the zodiac. It's a little bit like the Sabian Symbols book, but it's very different as well. Some of the things you read, you know, it's not very pleasant, but it is what it is. It is powerful. In this case, what happens is in her book, 27 degrees of Sag correlates to horses and horse riding. That's freaking mind blowing. It's just, you know, it's not a coincidence. And so what I want to share with you guys as well is that if you were to use another house system with this time of birth, let's just go back to the natal chart. So here's the natal chart, which has been rectified based on the Nadi rectification program and the Kosh house system, okay, which is what we use to rectify this chart. If I edit this chart, remember it's got 19 degrees of Sag on the fifth house cusp, just remember that figure. Now let's go to edit chart and let me just show you if I use Placidus, what happens. The fifth house cusp goes down to 5 degrees of Sag, meaning in 12 years after her birth, when she's 12 years of age, that fifth house cusp is going to be nowhere near through primary direction, which is moving the time forward 48 minutes, not 12 years. 48 minutes equates to 12 years, right? Hopefully that's clear. So the fifth house cusp with the Placidus house system does not make that correlation connection whatsoever at all, okay? I'll show you in the Porifori house system as well, just to show you a couple of examples. There's the Porifori or Periphery, however you want to pronounce it. Remember the original was 19 degrees of Sagittarius on the fifth house. Here we go. It's at 1 degrees of Sag now. So if we progress this chart forward by 48 minutes, that 1 degrees of Sag is not going to get to 27 degrees of Sag to form the square to Pluto. So you can see from what I've demonstrated today that in the case of this particular individual and the absolutely fated, a very tragic fated event that occurred in her life is only mirrored and reflected because her time of birth was rectified by using the Kosh house system. So let me just take that back and edit it to the Kosh. Okay, so there we go. No. Yes, that's right. So this is the natal chart, 19 degrees of Sag. When we progress the chart, now remember, I'm jumping back and forward. Hopefully you guys are keeping up. 6:04 a.m. birth time, 19 degrees of Sag, fifth house cusp. Primary directed chart. This is the primary directed chart. It's only 48 minutes after her birth. Okay, what happens is the primary fifth house cusp forms a square to Pluto. This is the primary fifth house cusp. What you'll notice is In her birth chart and in this chart, the planets, as you see them in the degrees that they are in the houses they are in, nothing's changed. It's virtually identical because 48 minutes after birth, not much is going to change. But what does change are the intermediate house cusps. They move very quickly. The vertex moves very quickly, and the moon. They are the fastest moving bodies and points in the birth chart that move quickly, and therefore they are the aspects of the chart that correlate to very specific fated events. To help you understand this in another way, if you are born, for example, with Mars in Aquarius, like this person here is, now this is the primary directed chart. So let's just go back to the natal. So in the natal, Mars is in the seventh house, right, at 19 degrees. And in a primary directed chart, it's just below the horizon, okay? But we could say, if we were reading this natally, we would say this is a seventh house Mars. Well, at least I would, okay? So that hasn't changed. Now, the other thing is Mars in Aquarius. Well, how long is Mars in Aquarius for? It's there for a couple of months, isn't it? So the point I'm making is that planets in signs, you know, they stay there for a fairly long time, depending on the movement of the planet, the fastest moving body being the moon. But even that changes signs every couple of days. However, for a couple of days, say somebody was born today, and for the next couple of days, those people born today are going to have the moon traveling in, you know, in the same sign. It's not going to change for a couple of days. But when you're talking about 2 days later or even 1 hour later, everything in this chart changes from the point of view of these intermediate house cusps. They change radically because they move very, very quickly, which is why they correlate to very specific timed fated events. Now, primary directions can also correlate to a fated relationship, for example, a fated career path turning point that takes place. It usually reflects very fated events in life. That's been my experience. And you will not pick that up from just transits or progressions, or even other techniques, such as working with perfected houses, which is a really powerful tool, just a very different method altogether again. There's something quite mysterious about these primary directions that move things in the chart to correlate to what I consider to be fated and destined events, and they happen at a very precise time in life, which is encapsulated in the first 90 minutes of life, as it were. It's bizarre, I know. Our linear brain cannot understand it, but I'm demonstrating to you the example of this today with this person's birth chart, and more importantly, to show you that with any other house system, this square from the fifth house cusp to Pluto does not show up 48 minutes after birth, which equates to 12 years, 12 years of age. Okay, and 12, by the way, is a Jupiter return. Every 12 years we have Jupiter return. So Jupiter rules the fifth house, right? She was 12 years old. Jupiter, Sag, horses, fifth house, riding, enjoyment, pleasure. Pluto, complete course of life direction, tragically changed. Brain damaged, you know, virtually brain dead, you know, just horrific, severe. Now, this is a very severe example. I get it, right? But it's a stunning illustration about a very tragic story. I understand that, but I just want you to see the power of the symbolism, the power of the Koch house system when it comes to having a chart rectified, and how this person's life tragedy is not reflected through any other house system but this one. Okay, that's all I wanted to share. I hope this example helps you understand a little bit more about how I work and why I work in the way that I do. By the way, if you want to play around with different house systems, I totally encourage you, because first of all, different house systems are used for different purposes. In my opinion, the natal chart, which could be used through the Kosh house system or the Porifori system, really reflects the absolute undertone of the soul's journey at the deepest core level that we are so unconscious about. And for example, if you wanted to use whole sign houses, which is a different system again, I find whole sign houses is very powerful as well, but for different reasons altogether. I would use whole sign houses when I'm looking at the perfected houses technique, for instance, which is one house of the birth chart equates to 1 year of life. So the first house is the first year of life, second house is the second year of life, so on and so on and so on. That's a very powerful tool to use. But even when you're using that, you need to look at what rules say that you're in a second house perfected year. Well, what rules that second house? Where is the ruler? What aspects does it have? Are there any transits that are making any aspects of that ruler at the moment? Those are just some basic principles that you would need to apply when you're working with it's virtually a predictive tool, if you like, perfected houses, for example, which derives from very traditional ancient astrology. So you would work with whole sign houses when you're using those kinds of principles or methods, for instance. Which can show you very clearly what I would consider external type of experiences and events. But I feel that when it comes to, as I said before, the absolute core soul journey of the individual and their evolution, then I feel that is reflected through the birth chart by having it timed down to a correct, an absolute correct birth time that is reflected through the house system that's used, right? And in this case, as I said, it happens to be the Kosh. And anytime a person comes to me and I rectify their chart, I always do it with the Kosh house system, the Nadi program rectification and the Kosh house system. That seems to be the one that shows up the most results. Yeah, okay, so I'll leave it there. If you have any questions about this, I'll do my best to answer them. But it was not about this. The purpose of this demonstration was not to teach you about advanced astrological techniques, because primary directions are something that you would learn in fairly advanced astrological lessons, and a lot of people wouldn't even teach it anyway. It is more of a technical side to astrology, and I I still have to work very hard at it, even years into it, because it's very mathematical and it does my head in. But I've got my mentor who gives me assistance when I need it on those levels. But this is how I've learned, and this is what I sort of continue to work with. You can work with astrology on many different levels. So esoterically, through the Western model, there's so many ways to work with astrology. But when it comes to technique, rectification and timing of things, this is a beautiful illustration of the power of correct time of birth, the Nadi program, and the Kosh house system. I showed you with other house systems that we did not get the same result. Now, why is it that the Kosh house system reflects this person's very fated event? I don't know the answer to that, but it does, and that's what's important. It actually does, whereas other house systems don't. So, what is the answer to that in terms of what is the question I'm putting? I guess some people might have the question, well, why does the Kosh house system reflect that for this person, but it doesn't reflect something else for another person? I don't know the answers to those questions. I'm not God, so to speak. I have limitations within my knowledge and wisdom as well, but I also do have a fair bit of understanding, and I just wanted to share that with you guys today, and hopefully explain it and reflect it back to you guys as clearly as I possibly can. So there you have it. I'll be back soon with a video on Chiron going direct in Aries. It's taking place tomorrow. Lots of people having Chiron returns, so I'd like to share some reflections on that for people, and just generally the Chiron direct movement we're about to go into, which is significant because it will Chiron, as he progresses forward, in his movement through the heavens, he'll catch up to forming a square to the transiting nodes in Cancer and Capricorn that we have going at the moment. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Anyway, I'll be back soon. Just wishing you guys all a beautiful, happy moon in Gemini. And hopefully the Neptune component that I discussed in the Gemini full moon video doesn't it doesn't create confusion for any of you, because it literally it literally can, particularly with information. So yeah, just be aware of that, and just enjoy it. Enjoy what unfolds for you. And I'll see you guys very soon. Much love. Bye.